visa in Australia and you are in Australia, then there are provisions for you under this current situation to make a request to immigration to waive that no further stay condition to allow you to apply for another visa. And you generally do that when you're trying to make that next application, and as soon as you can, at least a couple of weeks before your visa expires, to give them time to process that as well. Obviously, with the flight restrictions and everything else, from our experience, what we've seen is that immigration has been kind of understanding with situations like this in waiving no further stay conditions. If you are applying for a graduate 485 visa, then there's already provisions in there to allow you to waive this waive this no further stay condition when applying for the 485 visa. So there are conditions there, but it is important that you do apply for the waiver before your visa expires to give them time to remove the waiver and for you to be able to apply for that new visa. Now, a lot of our clients are asking what visa, or a lot of questions we're getting, what visa do I apply for when my visa is going to expire? And it's really up to you, and it depends on your individual situation. Now, if you are here, let's say on a student visa, and your student visa is about to expire, and one of the questions we had the other day, one of our clients was, I want to apply for the graduate visa, but at the moment I can't apply for the graduate visa because I don't have English yet. So at the moment, basically, you have to have another visa to tide you over almost. And so with the 485 visa, the graduate visa, the post-study work or the graduate work, you can apply within 6 months of finishing your last course. So let's say your course finished your master's in December last year, then you would have January, February, March, April, May, June to apply for that visa. But if your visa is very close to expiring now, you may need to apply for another student visa or a visitor visa or something to tide you over until conditions are lifted and you're able to sit an English test. Now, we did receive notification today that PTE has some availability within Australia. We haven't found out where that availability is, but they do have some availability. So those of you that are looking to do English tests to apply for that next visa, PTE may be an option, and I'd encourage you to go to their website and you can check out, they did say limited availability within Australia, which is good because a lot of other countries it's actually closed down at the moment. Now, secondly, with moving from that visa or any visa, the next visa you choose will have an impact. So if you choose, let's start with a student visa. If you're on a student visa or even a visitor visa or a 485, if you move to a student or a working holiday, if you move to a student visa, it allows you to still maintain work. So once restrictions are lifted, or if you do currently have a job, moving from say a working holiday visa or a student visa to another student visa will enable you to maintain work. So you will still get the 20 hours a week work while your course is in session and full-time work in holidays on the student visa. So that's one of the benefits of the student visa over the visitor visa. If, let's say, you've finished your course and you just want to go home but you're not able to go home yet, work's not a big issue, potentially lost your job, then maybe looking at a visitor visa is another option for you. Now, ordinarily after finishing a student visa, applying for a visitor visa can be a little bit risky because you've been in Australia for an extended period, but given the current situation, from what we've seen, immigration has been quite understanding when it comes to answering those or replying to, I guess, those visitor visa applications and understanding that flights to many countries are not possible. So they have been quite good in granting those visitor visas during this period of time. Okay, but remember, visitor visas don't have the ability to work, but can be another good option for you if you are within Australia. Now, outside of a tourist visa, one of the other visas that we've had people question us about and we've seen them applying for is a bridging visa E. And now I mentioned this the other day and I've seen it go around in a few forums. There are some risks associated with bridging visa E's which are not great because to apply for a bridging visa E or to be eligible to apply, you actually need to be unlawful. So you need to have a visa expire first in order to apply for a bridging visa E. So what that means is you have to become unlawful. You can apply for a bridging visa E, which may allow you to stay in Australia. But after leaving Australia on a bridging visa E, you do face or can face an exclusion period of up to 3 years that you're not allowed to come back into Australia. So one of the risks, I guess, is if you go down that road, if there's no other provisions or any compassionate or compelling circumstances to allow you to come back in, you may face that exclusion period in applying for another visa. So I wouldn't be as ready to just jump onto a bridging visa. A lot of people I've seen in forums have been doing, because it does bear other conditions. If your long-term plan is to maintain more time in Australia, I'd urge you, and as we do with our clients, to make sure that you try and stay legal and on a substantive visa, a current visa in Australia. So looking at renewing that visa, getting a student visa, applying for a 485 visa, applying for a tourist visa if work isn't something that you're interested in at this point in time. Now, we have had a few questions come in, so let me just answer some of these as they come through. What kind of opportunities I have for the 4-4 resident visa? I'm not sure what the 4-4 resident visa is. There's the 444 visa, which is the one that they announced, I guess that's eligible for the package. Maybe that's the one Pedro, the question is from. Potentially that's the one that you're asking about, 444 visa. That's a temporary visa given to New Zealand residents who are here working or New Zealand citizens who are here working in Australia. So it's not a visa that anyone can apply for. You actually have to be, I guess, a citizen of New Zealand and here working in Australia. So it's automatically granted to Kiwis when they come to Australia. They have the permission to work here in Australia as we do overseas. So when they were talking about a job seeker package that the federal government Prime Minister announced last night, it was only eligible for Australian citizens and residents or 444 New Zealand residency, New Zealand 444 holders, or other people that are able to claim Centrelink. So unfortunately, it's not for temporary visa holders. And I think that goes on to your question, Mohammed, in the next question that I have down here. For Mohammed, the JobKeeper package isn't for temporary visas. And at this stage, no, it's not for temporary visas. It's only for Australian citizens or Australian residents or people who have rights like the New Zealand citizens or other people, potentially refugees who may hold social security benefits as well, made eligible for that. But it's not for temporary visa holders, for student visa holders, for 482 or 457 holders. The package isn't for you. I got another question it's a little bit different from Maria Fatula. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. How long does it take to get invited with 85 points? That's a really tough question. If you're applying for the 189 visa, Maria, at the moment from what we've seen, most invitation rounds have been in excess of 90 points for most invitations, and even then there's quite a long waiting period. Some occupations are even higher than that, so it all really depends on your occupation. In our experience, what we're really looking at is state sponsorship for our clients, which states they may qualify for, and trying to steer them in that direction because we potentially have a little bit more control over it. So unfortunately, I can't tell you how long it might take with 85 points. I'm not sure what the next processing round would be. All right, so I have another question here from Dolly. I'm in a tourist visa or on a tourist visa. Maximum stay is 3 months per entrance. Is there any exception to make longer with the virus situation? Like I said, at the moment there's not extension that we can see of current visas, but in that case, Dolly, I would say that the best option for you would be to look at renewing a visa and applying for another tourist visa. Now, tourist visas can be granted for 3, 6, or 12, 9 or 12 months. So you could potentially, it's up to immigration. So you could apply for 12 months. They may only grant you a 3 or a 6 month visa. It's really up to them. But the best thing for you to do would still be to make that application, because then you would have a visa that would have an expiry date of that 3 months on it. Or if you did get another visa, it would either have a 3, 6 or 12 month expiry. So it's probably best for you to do something along those lines, Dolly, just to stay legal. Lucy, you had, I heard about the JobKeeper payment. Do you know if there's any help for international student visas? That's a really good question. I've heard that there has been discussion for the last week. We did announce this a little bit last week through an article asking what is the government doing with respects to both temporary visa holders, okay, because that could be 457, 485, and also students as well, because in my opinion, or in our opinion, the international student community is a big industry for Australia. Without you guys here as students, when we don't have industry, and there is a lot of, I guess, consensus amongst education agents and providers as well, pushing to try and get a payment for international students. Now, I was on a call earlier with Austrade, and one of the presenters, Robert, was talking about pushing for some form of payment for international students, a weekly or a fortnightly payment. Again, no information has been there. At the moment, there's lobbying going on as you can understand, the job seeker payment for Australian employees only happened last night, and even that hasn't fully been decided yet. So I feel there is positive thing in the pipeline that may come to fruition, but we just have to wait, because as I say, this whole situation is evolving as we see. So stay tuned. We will keep you updated if there are any payments like that there as well. On that note though, if you are working in the for students that are on 500 visas, you can work full-time in aged care, I believe. In the supermarkets as well is another area where you're able to work full-time as well. So if you're able to have a look on one of our pages, there is a listed job list that they go straight to jobs, not to us, because obviously that's where the jobs are. But places like Woolworths, places like Aldi, fruit picking jobs are another possibility if you're not currently studying or in your working holiday visa, that are looking for people, because obviously food is an essential service and we still need that food coming in to feed everyone that's here in Australia. And next question from Fabi Torres. I have already lodged an expression of interest for 190 and currently have a 457 that will expire in June. Can I apply for another visa? Yeah, sure. There is possibility Fabs for you to apply for another visa before the end of June. 190, I'm not sure where you've applied for the expression of interest, so some states respond quicker than others, but if you haven't received an invitation, by all means you can renew and apply for another visa at the end of that to maintain your time in Australia. Whatever you do though, you have to make sure that it's genuine. So if you're enrolling to study, you need to show that you're a genuine student, and that what you're studying makes sense for your career and following on, I guess, from what you've done on your 457. Or if your company, let's say by June, is still going well, or if you are employed, I'm not sure if you are or not, but you could potentially renew that for 457 or 482 as it's come now. Okay. Hanzong Zing, thank you for your question. I'm afraid that I won't be able to finish my studies before the end of my visas due to coronavirus. What's happening? Okay, so this is a placement one, so you can't do your placement in a preschool. I literally just have one of these questions from our client today who I haven't had a chance to respond to. Oh, it is you, Cherish, there you go. So I haven't had a chance to respond to your email, but yeah, listen, I understand, and I did read your email this morning. It has been quite hectic, but at this point in time, if you don't finish in this time, what the universities can do, they can give you an extended COE, which means you're allowed to apply for another student visa. Now, there's been no announcement yet as to whether that student visa will be free based on the interruption in your study being circumstances outside your control. But sometimes when there are, I guess, closures of schools and things, that immigration does allow for a waiver of the visa application fee for that next one. So that may be a possibility, Cherish, and I hope that it is. I understand though, because certain things are limited now with what you're able to do during this period of time. If you do get that new COE, your visa would generally then be extended. So that's something that your university, and I'll probably reach out to them and just explain the situation and just say, can I get a new COE to cover my time to do this? Otherwise I won't be able to finish my degree. And I think that should be probably the best case if you can't finish it now. But generally, again, I think that immigration will be understanding, and hopefully universities would be as well. Okay, if there's any more questions, like I say, feel free to write them down. I'll keep running through a few other things in the meantime. So those of you that are offshore, we had some people on here last time that were offshore, or even you were in Australia and you went back overseas, potentially on a student visa. Let's start with a student visa, and you went back overseas and now you can't come back. Some institutions are providing education online. Certain universities are really well set up for online study, and if you do study in these universities, then you can continue to maintain progress in your course. This also goes for people who may have been granted a student visa from outside Australia. If you've been granted a student visa from outside Australia, you can start those studies online from that institution. Now, one of the things that we got updated by immigration today is, let's say that you're offshore and you enrolled in a course, you haven't applied for the visa yet, but you've enrolled in the course, they've accepted you, you paid, you got your COE. It may be possible for you to start your course now without actually applying for the visa right now. Now, this was information I only got 10 minutes ago, 10 minutes before this started. but you may be able to start your study now and then apply for your student visa when you are able to undertake the medicals or when you know what's happening with respect to entering. But it doesn't mean that you can't stop. It doesn't stop you from studying now to maintain a little bit of that course progression. So that's a good option. For many of those are our clients that are overseas in Mexico, Colombia. They can actually commence their studies now. So I mean, let's face it, a lot of us are in isolation in our houses, in our apartments. So it probably is a pretty good time to study if you're not working and if you have the means to do it and you are offshore or either having just applied or halfway through your course. You can maintain those studies online through most institutions. So please reach out to your institutions on that and and see what their answers would be. Now, like I said, the Australian government is looking at options to make sure that international students aren't adversely affected by COVID-19. So they are working behind the scenes to see what they can do with respect to helping at the moment. Now, on the 485 visa, one of our clients, and we haven't even talked about this as a migration team yet, but it was just one of the updates I got from the Migration Institute of Australia just half an hour ago, is that at the moment, with the 485 visa, there may be some people that are stuck overseas. They've got their 485 visa, gone home, and now they're currently stuck overseas. Or people that are here that haven't been able to apply their 485 visa yet because let's say they need English or something else. Now, as I said at the start of this Facebook Live, you need to apply for your 485 visa within 6 months of your course finishing. So let's say that master's that you did finished in December, or let's say it finished in March and your visa expires in April, but you haven't been able to do your IELTS or anything due to the shutdown of IELTS centres, PTE centres or whatever. If you were to extend your student visa and get another student visa, let's say to do another course for the next 6 months, or get a visitor visa for a period as well, you could then apply for 485 visa if it was within that 6 months. But obviously we know that there are some people that are probably going to fall outside of that 6 months. One of the things the Migration Institute of Australia is looking at, and I guess migration agents are lobbying for, is the potential for the Immigration Department to allow people to apply for the 476 visa. So the 476 is the offshore version for certain universities to apply for a visa similar to 485. But what they're looking at doing, because that doesn't have criteria in finishing your course in the next 6 months, lobbying towards looking at other possible pathways that can potentially help you, enable you to apply for other visas at the end of it. Now, nothing is set in stone, and everything I'm saying is just to give you an idea of the possibilities that may be happening out there, but until everything's set in stone and is put down. But just so you know, there are things happening behind the scenes trying to help assist you, our clients, and the wider community as a whole, looking at possibilities on what to help you on when these things finish and what you can do next. Okay, so I have another couple of questions coming through, which I'll answer. My visa expires on the 13th of April. I'm looking to stay in Australia. My intention is to go back to Colombia. I have even tickets for it. Okay, sorry, I'll just read the whole question. So that was a bridging visa E. It was a question around a bridging visa E wanting to return to Colombia. As I don't have a job and the tourist visa don't let me work, I was read out a bridging visa E. A bridging visa E, like I said, is not the best idea because, like I said, you have to become unlawful to apply for it. And if you do that, then when you leave on the bridging visa E, you may face exclusion period in doing that. So again, this is not the ideal situation because if you're leaving after being unlawful, you will potentially face exclusion periods, which means if you do decide to come back for another temporary visa to visit, or you change your mind once you get back to Colombia and want to come back, it may limit you from doing that. My advice, or our advice, I guess, would be to try and maintain a substantive visa. So if you could maintain a tourist visa for that period of time, I believe you said you weren't working at the moment. So if you were to get a tourist visa for 3 or 6 months, for that extra little bit of money, and it's not a lot of money to apply for a tourist visa, you maintain your lawfulness in Australia and you don't face those other risks associated with a bridging visa. That's what I would do in that situation, just to maintain a substantive visa and maintain being lawful status in Australia throughout. Okay, so another question. Yep, so students overseas can't study due to the spread. Okay, interesting question. This is one I've also thought about, Naresh, so thanks for coming on with this one. So the question was, students who are overseas in India cannot travel, can take online classes in India, but will that period count positively toward when a student applies for the post-study work visa? So with the post-study work visa, you need to complete a course that is completed in no less than 16 calendar months. So providing you're in Australia for 16 calendar months and studying, and provided the course is registered for the 92 weeks or more, and I'm not sure if you're doing a master's there, if it's registered for 92 weeks, most masters are registered for 104 weeks and bachelor's 156, but if it is registered, then I believe you should be fine. The other thing in the provisions, not by changing law, but potentially policy around the 485 visa, obviously these factors outside of your control. The government is wanting people to continue studying. So I would think, Naresh, that you would be okay. If you are onshore and you're onshore for 16 calendar months and the course is registered and it was all studied through Australian university, then I think you should be fine. Obviously, this is something we'll have more information about towards the end of it. This is not a normal situation that we've faced before, but I think you're probably going to be potentially in an okay situation at the end of your course there. Okay, so Alejandro, I hope the last question, I won't talk again about the bridging visa because there's been quite a lot of questions about it, but if you're on a visitor visa and it's expiring soon, my personal opinion is I would renew the visitor visa and maintain lawfulness. If you go to the bridging visa E and you leave the country, from the bridging visa E there's very limited visas you can apply for, and once you leave the country, coming back into Australia, you may face exclusion periods. So in my personal opinion, maintaining a lawful visa or a substantive visa as they're called, such as a visitor visa or a student visa as we mentioned earlier, is probably a better option for you moving forward, just because it will limit the repercussions or the, how can I say that simpler, the negative connotations further on down track. Okay, so does anyone have any other questions? Okay. So as I said, these sessions that we're trying to run are to help the international student community. I mean, obviously we're getting a lot of questions and it's hard for us because us as an agency and also the industry as a whole are facing challenging times where our students from overseas are having trouble and can't come to Australia. So that obviously has a big impact on us as a business too. We're forced to work from home, so it makes it harder to connect with you, our clients, and the wider community as well. So these sessions are designed to give you a bit more information, and we do have on our coronavirus page on our website, there's a questions section at the bottom, and we're trying to answer these questions through these Facebook Lives that we're doing on regular occasions. We are going to do other updates as well going throughout the week. Updated thing on, with respect to schools, with respect to other visas, and just try and run sessions. But ultimately the sessions are for you, not for us. So if you do have questions, by all means, please send those questions in, because these are designed to give you the information to help you, I guess, in this uncertain time. But, I guess I'm kind of looking at it in a positive light as possible, is that we all need to work together as a community to try and get through this, I guess, almost like as a team. And we'll be doing what we can in the background as well, trying to reach out to government, trying to reach out to other institutions and areas that can potentially provide support for international students and for temporary workers as well. Now, if you did want to get in touch, our team will leave a link at the bottom, probably to our coronavirus page and stuff, so that you can jump on there. If you are interested in student visas only, but if you are interested in student visas only, we're running and your visa is going to expire soon, we're running free 15-minute consultation with me just to guide you on what may be best if you are enrolling and you're potentially going to use it. But anyway, these sessions are potentially for you to get the information you need. So if you do have questions, by all means share it. Thank you very much for your time. Wish you all the best during this uncertain time. As soon as we have more updates, we will be coming to you, so stay tuned. Like our page or YouTube or wherever you are that's watching this. All the best in your current predicament, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.